Okay, welcome to chapter 10. In this chapter, we're going to be taking a look at the first part of how cells divide. As we can see in this image from your book, cells need to be able to divide to reproduce themselves. Omnis cellula e cellula. This statement is a Latin phrase that refers to Rudolf Virchow's contribution to the cell theory. It literally translates to every cell from a cell. And it reminds us of the cell theory and this portion of it because all cells have arisen from previously existing cells. And in order for this to be true, cells have to have the ability to divide. Now, cell division is an important process for three main reasons. The first of which has to do with reproduction. Many single-celled or unicellular organisms are able to reproduce simply by dividing their cells, as we see here in this image of this amoeba undergoing an asexual reproduction, a sexual reproduction that does not involve the fusion of gametes. This is what asexual reproduction refers to. And so for an amoeba to reproduce, many times one amoeba simply divides and becomes two amoeba. Now, other higher forms of life, like ourselves, plants, they undergo asexual type reproduction where gametes are going to fuse together. Now, these gametes are also produced by cell division. In plants, their life cycles include asexual reproductive portions too, called spores, and whether we're talking about gametes or spores, all of these cells are produced by one of the types of cell division. So, cell division is an important process from the standpoint of reproduction. Second, cell division is an important process because of growth and development. In order for living things to grow, they have to be able to add cells to the overall body mass. And in addition, these cells undergo development, which refers to the physical changes as the cell progresses through its life. And then finally, cell division is a necessary process because of maintenance. Maintenance or tissue renewal, replacing damaged cells, is very important throughout the life of a multicellular organism. Now, one of the interesting things about the cells and their life is that as the cell completes its life in what we're going to call the cell cycle, we would think that all cells have the ability to divide, but this is not true. Not all cells will complete the cell cycle as we're going to see. Not all cells are capable of cell division. For example, in our own bodies, nerve cells, muscle cells, etc. are not capable of cell division. Now, cell division and its proper regulation is also very important because tissues that do reproduce themselves can't do this in an uncontrolled fashion. So as we'll see at the end of this chapter, there's our special regulation mechanisms to prevent uncontrolled cell division. And uncontrolled cell division is what forms the basis of most cancerous diseases. Now, in order for a cell to divide and produce a viable copy of itself, the genetic material which controls the cell has to be passed from one cell to the next. And so we refer to the genome as the entire complement of genetic material in a given cell. So a typical human cell has over 2 meters of DNA inside of each nucleus. And this is really amazing if you think back to how small those cheek cells were that we looked at in the lab. And then when you think about inside of the small nucleus in that cheek cell is well over 6 feet of DNA. So before the cell can divide, we have to copy the entire genome, and then we've got to find some way to separate it carefully. Now, the duplication and separation of DNA is manageable because of the way the DNA molecules are organized into either chromatin or chromosomes. And we remember that chromatin is the form that DNA takes when the cell is functioning normally. As the cell gets ready to divide, this chromatin will condense and form discrete chromosomes that make the separation a little bit more manageable. So again, remember that in humans, we have 23 pairs of chromosomes. We call these homologous chromosome pairs, one from the maternal and one from the paternal side. So there are 46 total chromosomes in a typical somatic or body cell. This is, of course, our diploid number. The gametes that humans and other animals produce are sexual cells that are going to be produced a little bit differently. And instead of being produced where one cell divides to form a perfectly identical daughter cell, during a special type of cellular division, the gametes will go through a reductional division and each gamete will become haploid. And this is so that when we fuse two haploid gametes together to form a zygote, we end up with a diploid cell, again, as part of our life cycle. Now, this next slide illustrates the way that chromatin and chromosomes are organized. Remember that both are primarily made up of DNA, but these DNA molecules are also surrounding some proteins, and these proteins help to give some structure and a little bit of strength to the chromatin or the chromosomes. When the cell is functioning normally, the DNA is in the form of chromatin. And if we take a look at what chromatin looks like, we can see here is our molecule of DNA that's wrapped around these proteins called histones. And then these little beads, so to speak, are organized and folded back on one another to make a string of chromatin. And as the chromatin condenses to form chromosomes, it will be looped back and forth on a protein scaffold to again shorten it and make it easier to separate.